Howdy, gang, and welcome once again to the Duct Tape Studios. I'm Jeff McAleer, your host here at the Gaming Gang channel. Thanks for joining me once again. Old School October continues, as today I'm going to take a first look and page through the 5th edition of Chivalry and Sorcery from Britannia Game Design Ltd. This is written by Stephen Turner, Francis Tiffany, Andy Staples, Colin D. Spears, A.R. Crowley, and David Blewett. The 600-page hardcover carries an MSRP of $75, or you can grab just the PDF alone over at DriveThruRPG for $29.99. All that said, let's swing on over to the other camera because here I've got the 5th edition of Chivalry and Sorcery. Couple of things I want to mention before we get started. First of all, the fine folks over at Britannia Game Design Ltd were kind enough to provide me with this review copy, but neither I nor anyone else affiliated with the Gaming Gang has received any other sort of compensation for me to share this first look with you. These days, it's important you know that. We're also not going to look at each and every of the 600 pages in this volume, but I do want to give you a good feel for what you're going to find inside 5th edition Chivalry and Sorcery. So let's take a look at the back here. For those who fight and those who pray, for those who toil and those who enchant. Chivalry and Sorcery, the medieval role-playing game. With all the medieval flavor that was loved of earlier editions now back, this truly is the definitive edition of Chivalry and Sorcery. Players can create well-rounded characters who really feel like they belong to their world. Knights wield secular power and command the battlefield, while other warriors strive to win their spurs in combat and rise to join their ranks. Magic is deep and mysterious, drawing on real-world historical detail, while priests utter prayers and call upon the very miracles of their gods. You decide the level of magic and fantasy for your game. Run a medieval high fantasy game filled with magic, miracles, and myth, or one of gritty low fantasy, or even pure historical simulation. The choice is yours. From fairy tale romance to courtly love, from religious intrigue to brutal, bloody battle, Chivalry and Sorcery lets you play in just the Middle Ages you want. All right. I have to say, I am very curious about Chivalry and Sorcery. I have heard a lot of things about this game over the years. I know that this has been out for over 40 years. So I had always heard that this is probably the crunchiest fantasy role-playing game that is out there on the market. Now, is that going to be the case? I don't know. But I have always heard really interesting things about Chivalry and Sorcery. So first thing we'll take a look at is our credits page. A lot of folks work very hard to bring this to life. So let's give credit where credit is due. All right. So let's see. How is this going to be broken down? I think I skipped a page in the table of contents. Oh, it's the glorious table of contents. So we'll have an introduction. Then we have the medieval world. We get into our core game mechanics on page 32. That is something I'm going to want to take a peek at because I am definitely curious about the mechanics which drive this system. Then we get character generation, which looks like we have nearly 70 pages devoted to that. And we have vocations, skills, the marketplace, movement and time, combat, magic, spells, religion, a game master section. Wow, religion takes up a good chunk too. This is about 60 pages devoted to religion. That's pretty wild. Then we have the game master section, campaign world, non-player characters. We get a bestiary. It looks like the bestiary will round out the rest of this volume. So this publication is Chivalry and Sorcery's core rules. Out of this basic book, it's 600 pages. CNS, the medieval simulation game, blossoms into existence. So the game mechanic, at first glance, CNS may seem very complex, but this is not so. There's actually really only one system mechanic. This is called Skillscape. All the reams of detail are merely that added detail that can be simply ignored if desired. CNS has at its core a very straightforward procedure, success or failure being simply determined by the use of a percentile pair and a 10-sided die referred to as the crit die. Very cool. All right. So let's take a look here. We're going to get into the medieval world. So, one thing that really sets Chivalry and Sorcery apart from other fantasy role playing games, to my knowledge, is that this is set in our historical world. So, if you want to run this as just a straight historical simulation, you can do so. But as far as the fantasy elements, you are still looking at these fantasy elements taking place in our own history. So that is very, very interesting. I have a feeling the fans of Chivalry and Sorcery are probably the same sort of gamers out there who are big fans of Harn Master, Harn World. In fact, speaking of Harn World, I will have my review of Harn World later on this month as part of our old school October. So stay tuned for that if you're kind of curious about Harn World. I've already reviewed Harn Master. So this is our character creation. Let's see. Do we have our attributes? Select a character creation method. So we have birth horoscope, birth omens, and initial player character points. Decide their race, decide their sex, their background, including social status and intra-group status, sibling rank, family status, determine the curse if required, determine special talents or abilities, deficiencies or defects, personal attributes, size of character, body points, recovery rates, fatigue points and recovery rates, lifting and carrying capacity, jumping ability, movement rates, character age, optional, personalizing your character traits. Yep, there is a lot going on with that. So it's going to walk us through step by step. Here's our character background. So we have early feudal, high chivalric, late or waning feudal. Wow. Slave owners. It's like, geez. Lots and lots of random tables here. Got different trades. Here's our status, social status, family rank, I guess. These are the special talents. I'm looking to see where we get to our attributes. Flaws, deficiencies, and defects. Wow. There is loads to this. I know I said I wasn't going to look at each and every page, but I'm just trying to find, there we go, our attributes. It's what I was trying to track down here to get a better feel for those. So we have 9 personal attributes. So 3 physical, strength, constitution, dexterity. 3 intellectual, intellect, wisdom, discipline. We have 3 which are communal, bardic voice, appearance, and spirit. And then we will have 3 derived attributes: agility, ferocity, and charisma. And should I take a guess that we're going to look at those being percentile numbers? That'd be my guess. Looks like this is the health and recovery. Here we have our sample character. No, we do not have percentile dice as far as our attributes. In fact, it looks like our attributes are on a 3 to 18 range, possibly. Because here our sample character has a strength 16, dexterity 15, constitution 17, intellect 14, discipline 14, wisdom 12, bardic voice 12, appearance 11, spirit 15. So this does give us a breakdown on how this character was created, each of the steps. So that's cool. I like that. Makes it a little easier for you to maybe wrap your head around how you're building your character. So now we've got vocations, it looks like. So these are warrior vocations, guards, retainers, foresters, knights, thievish vocations, burglars, beggars, cut purses, and assassins. Nice. Art style throughout looks pretty good. I will say that the paper stock, solid. It's not the thickest that we see in various different role playing game releases, but certainly not as thin as we see, say, from Wizards of the Coast, Dungeons and Dragons releases. So these are vocations. Now we get into skills. And I believe there are supposed to be about 200 skills. Pretty wild. Animal skills, musical instruments. It's like these might be agility skills, combat skills. So some examples of combat skills: knife and dagger fighting, riding a war horse, pole arms, throwing knives and daggers. I understand that Chivalry and Sorcery has some really solid support as well. I think there's a lot out there, adventure wise and supplement wise. Now, I do have a couple of supplements I will be taking a look at as well this month. One is Land of the Rising Sun, and the other is a Celtic source book. So we're going to take a look at those. So we've got our outdoor skills, blending in the surroundings, calm and attract animals, finding direction, covering your tracks, perception skills such as detect lie and reading lips, seamanship skills. Looks like thievery skills there too. Picking locks, picking pockets, and cutting purses. I think these are intellect skills, maybe. Fairy lore, laws of magic, lore of the dead. Maybe these are just magic skills. As we're flipping on through here, I have got to say, I am really curious. This is really piquing my interest. And of course, I will have a review of Chivalry and Sorcery 5th edition in the not too distant future. I would hope maybe to actually get it out this month so we can get it in as part of our old school October. But as you can see, this is 600 pages. And I have quite a few role-playing game releases that are in the queue ahead of it. So this is the marketplace. So it looks like these are various different components. Gemstones, precious, I should say semi-precious stones, and minerals. So we've got amethyst, coral, petrified wood, topaz. Looks like we've got some tables for our weapons. So it tells us what date those weapons were in use, how long it takes to make one of those weapons, what they weigh, what their length is, what their base damage is, their crit die modifier, bash chance, and cost in pennies. So now we're in movement and time. And then we get into combat. So let's see what we've got. Throughout these combat rules, skill checks are made using a percentile dice, or D100, and a D10 crit die. Roll is made, and if the results on the roll of the percentile dice is equal to or lower than the skill chance, then the skill succeeds. For every 20% to the TSC percentage above max percentage, add 1 to the crit die. Okay, we'll find out what that means. What's the book has been read. So we have using more than one weapon, offensive actions, bashing. Yep. Here's our damage. Each weapon inflicts damage equal to the following: base damage for the weapon plus strength bonus calculated as the strength attribute divided by 4 for light weapons and 2 for weapons heavier than light, plus the attacker's bonus and the adjusted crit die result. I will take a guess that combat in Chivalry and Sorcery is going to be very lethal. Just like we've seen like in Harnmaster. Even RuneQuest, which is kind of historically based on a fantasy Bronze Age. Once again, combat is very lethal. So your player characters should only engage in combat when absolutely necessary, when their backs are to the wall. But it does look like our combat here is fairly detailed. So that's pretty cool. Now we're in our magic, elemental magic. We're going to get to the religion section in just a moment. And something else that I understand plays a big role in Chivalry and Sorcery are real world religions. Pretty cool. All right. So these are all spells here, broken up by type. So charm spells, we have mass charm, charm animals, charm predator, charm person, domination spells, hold animals, hold predators, hold person, hold enchanted beast, hold undead. I wonder if we have different schools. It's possible that we have different schools of magic here. Wow. There is a bunch of spells here. I'm going to take a guess that maybe the spell section actually takes the largest portion of the page count of this book. Aha, here we go. Religion. Just as magic was real to the medieval mind, so too were miracles, the very embodiment of the deity's power on the physical world. As such, they form an essential part of the Chivalry and Sorcery game and are presented here in a manner that applies to any religious group that is portrayed in the Chivalry and Sorcery universe. So we will get into miracles, calling on divine power, grace and spiritual hindrances. Since the fall of man from their perfect state, union with the divine and one's achievement of spiritual enlightenment have been hampered by two elements deeply rooted in the mortal condition: human nature, partially expressed by one's spirit, which reflects the innate capacity for spirituality as well as those past behaviors that might have shaped such potential. The other is the desperate clinging to hindrances, emotions, irrational views, and inflexible ideas over the nature of the world and the divine plan. So it looks like we have all these various different hindrances. So we have a Jewish timeline. So Judaism is one. Christianity's got to be another. And then I would think we have Islam. There we go. There's Islam. So we get some historical information about Islam in the Middle Ages. Different acts of faith, miracles. I'm impressed. I really am. I mean, just think about the sheer amount of research that went into this to provide the historical background for chivalry and sorcery. So here's our game master section. This I'm going to just kind of skip more pages of. So, adventuring, quests, finding magical items or holy items too, I guess. Talking about the campaign world. So maybe a bit of a gazetteer, maybe not. This might be more high level than simply a gazetteer would provide. It's very possible that we do have some source books that get far more detailed about the campaign world. I would assume they exist. Looks like we had some hirelings there. The Fief of William Fitzansculf, held directly from King William the Conqueror. So I'm guessing we've got some domain play. Right. So here we've got our non-humans. It's got dwarves, elves. Was that goblin? Yep, orcs, goblins, and hobgoblins. Trolls? Huh. Okay. Weird creatures. Well, looks like I was going to say, looks like we've got vampires. Yep, right there. Huh. Interesting. And we got our bestiary. And it looks like we had a breakdown of the sort of creature. And then we have these tables here. So for our lycanthropes, we have werebears, wereboars, werefoxes, wererats, wereserpents, and of course, the werewolf. So this is going to wrap up. We have kobolds, not to be confused with kobolds with a K. That's wild. Giants, elementals. Oh, I guess gnomes are considered elementals? Maybe not. Dragons, demons. I was going to say, I would think with religion playing such a large role in chivalry and sorcery that demons and devils will also be playing a big role. We've got our glossary of terms. What was that TSC? Total success chance. There we go. It's plain as day now. Then we got our index character sheet. Yep. Let's see what the character sheet looks like. So here's our character sheet front. Background and social, skills and experience, personal items, our magic grimoire, and faith. Wow. That's a lot of pages to our character sheets. Sweet. Very cool. All right. So that is a look inside Chivalry and Sorcery 5th edition from Britannia Game Design Ltd. And once again, I will have a review of the 5th edition of Chivalry and Sorcery, hopefully by the end of the month. Fingers crossed, because I would like to get the review out for this during Old School October. All right, once again, this 600-page hardcover is available now. It carries an MSRP of $75. If you just want to grab the PDF alone, you can do so over at DriveThruRPG for $29.99. That's it for this time out. If you like the video, by all means, please give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel if you haven't already. And if you do subscribe, don't forget, ring that bell. It'll not only let you know when I share videos such as this first look, it'll also inform you when my live stream, the Gaming Gang Dispatch, airs Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday evenings right here on YouTube at 7 p.m. Central. Of course, when you're not watching videos here on the channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for our latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more you are not going to find here on YouTube. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. Thank you very much for watching. Old School October will continue. I'm Jeff McAleer, and until I see you next time, I certainly hope all of you get to enjoy plenty of great gaming with your gang.